What if the cure for crippling social anxiety wasn't, years of therapy,
Right.
but like surviving a terrifying armed
I
robbery?
mean, it sounds completely backward, doesn't it?
It really does. But today we are doing a deep dive into a story where the ultimate key to personal empowerment is just, well, it's absolute unfiltered chaos.
Yeah, it's a fascinating concept.
So we're looking at excerpts from the story called Holding It Together by Delisha Battle. And our mission today is to trace the journey of this young woman, Desiree.
Right, Desiree.
Yeah, and she goes from passively hiding from the world to aggressively, and I mean aggressively commanding her space in it.
It's such a remarkable case study, to be honest. We spend so much time discussing personal growth as this, like, gradual, peaceful process.
Yeah, like going on a retreat or journaling.
Exactly. But we rarely look at what happens when growth is forced upon you by a massive system shock.
Right. And to understand that shock, we really have to look at Desiree's baseline first.
We have to know where she's starting from.
Exactly. So she is 20 years old. She's a college grad with a business degree, but she's been unemployed for a year.
That's tough.
Yeah. She's living with her twin sister, Dee, basically acting as a live-in babysitter. And then Dee's boyfriend, Aaron, who, by the way, recently got out of jail, just walks into the house without knocking.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, he mistakes Desiree for Dee, grabs her from behind, and kisses her.
Yikes.
Right. So Desiree immediately slaps him, which, fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely justified.
But she doesn't just stop there. She packs up all her things and completely moves out.
See, that reaction is our first big clue about how Desiree handles perceived threats at this stage in her life.
How do you mean?
Well, she establishes a boundary by slapping him, sure.
Yeah.
But her primary method of enforcing that boundary is removal.
Oh, right. Flight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She just withdraws from the environment entirely rather than, dealing with the conflict head on.
Which makes her next move super interesting. Okay, let's unpack this because her dad owns a restaurant.
A perfectly good fallback option.
Right. She could easily go work for him, but she straight up refuses to take what she sees as a handout.
Which is very telling.
Yeah. Instead, she moves back in with her parents just so she can take this grueling minimum wage, no breaks cashier job at Springwater's mini market.
So she has a business degree, but chooses a convenience store counter.
Yes, she actively chooses it. Like, why?
It seems totally counterintuitive on the surface, right?
Yeah.
But if we look at the psychology of sovereignty, it actually makes perfect sense.
Really? Because it looks like a massive step backward.
To an outside observer, sure. Taking a minimum wage job when your family offers a safety net looks like failure. But for Desiree, a safety net is still a net.
Oh, wow. I like that. A net is still a net.
She wants complete independence on her own terms,
Yep.
even if that means enduring a highly uncomfortable environment.
Because she's the architect of her own survival at that point.
Precisely.
But oh man, that environment is a huge clash with her
The
personalities.
complete opposite.
Yeah. Desiree's world is so highly structured. She's a total introvert. She's celibate, wears a purity ring, doesn't drink alcohol, doesn't eat pork.
Very disciplined.
Super disciplined. She mostly just observes everyone around her in silence. But then there's her shift leader, Shani,
Enter the chaos.
the ultimate chaos. Shanae is loud, constantly late, and just absolutely drowning in personal drama.
They are literal polar opposites thrust into a tiny space behind a cash register.
There's this one scene that just perfectly captures their dynamic. So Shanae is casually gossiping to coworkers over the counter,
Right.
and she tells them her boyfriend recently caught her in bed with her best friend.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, it gets crazier. The boyfriend then shoots the best friend in the arm.
You are kidding.
No, and the best friend has to jump out of a window, stark naked, and sprint down the street without his clothes or keys.
Wow.
And Shanae is just like relaying this violent, insane story while ringing up customers.
While Desiree is just standing there, quietly absorbing it all.
Exactly. And see, this is where I start to question Desiree's approach. Like, you read these interactions and you have to wonder, is Desiree's silence actually a sign of strength?
That's a great question.
Because she stands there silently judging Shanae's life choices. And I can't help but feel like maybe it's just social anxiety masquerading as moral superiority.
You think she's just scared?
Yeah. Is she deeply grounded, or is she just terrified of the real world and judging it to feel safe?
Well, I'd actually push back on calling it just anxiety or moral superiority.
Okay. What do you think it is?
I'd argue it's a highly logical survival tactic.
All right.
If you think about it from an evolutionary perspective,
Okay.
you have an introvert thrust into an unpredictable, high-drama environment. Her brain recognizes that engaging with Shanae's chaos will just drain her cognitive resources.
Oh, so her silence is like energy conservation.
Exactly. She uses her strict religious and moral rules as a psychological buffer to insulate herself from the mess.
A buffer to keep the world at arm's length.
Yes. But the problem with a buffer is that it doesn't just keep the bad things out. It traps you inside.
Right.
She thinks she's holding it together, but she's really just holding herself apart. She's avoiding conflict entirely rather than learning how to navigate it.
So if her silence is this self-imposed fortress, what does it take to finally break those walls down?
A total breach.
Yeah, because the environment doesn't just stay messy, it turns lethal.
This is the turning point.
Big time. It's a Saturday night, 10 minutes before closing. A tall man storms into the mini market.
Right.
He's wearing a gas mask, full military gear, black boots, gloves. He's carrying a handgun and a black traveling bag.
Terrifying.
He demands the money, takes their cell phones, cocks his gun, and literally shoots the security monitor right in front of them.
It's the ultimate system shock. All of Desiree's psychological buffers are rendered completely useless in a split second.
And the contrast in how these two women react under the gun is wild. Their coping mechanisms completely flip.
They really do.
Shanae, the one whose life is a total chaotic mess, she breaks down in tears. She panics. But she steps up.
She becomes the protector.
Yes. When the robber tries to pull Desireé into the back room alone, Shanae begs him and she says, "If you take her, you're taking me too."
It's such a profound moment of solidarity.
It really is. She offers herself up as a shield for this quiet new girl who's been secretly judging her.
Under extreme duress, Shanae's response is highly social and protective, despite her obvious fear.
Meanwhile, Desireé, the disciplined, composed one, just freezes. She is so completely paralyzed by terror that she refuses to let go of the mop she was using to clean the floor.
Yeah, the mop.
She literally carries the mop with her at gunpoint. She just clasps her hands around it, quietly praying to herself the entire time. Like, why does she completely shut down while Shanae springs into action?
So to understand this, we have to look at polyvagal theory. It was developed by Dr. Stephen Porges.
Okay, polyvagal theory.
Yeah. When humans face a threat, our autonomic nervous system has a hierarchy of responses. The first is social engagement, trying to talk your way out. If that fails, we drop into the sympathetic nervous system. That's fight or flight.
Which is where Shanae is operating.
Exactly. She's panicked, she's crying, but she's actively negotiating for survival.
But Desireé doesn't fight, and she definitely doesn't run.
Because her brain perceives the threat as so overwhelmingly massive that fighting or fleeing just seem impossible.
Oh, wow.
So her nervous system drops into the oldest, most primitive defense mechanism we have, the dorsal vagal response.
The dorsal vagal response?
Right. It's the freeze response. Her biology essentially shuts down her motor functions.
So she's not just scared, she's literally immobilized.
It's an involuntary immobilization designed to numb pain and increase the odds of surviving a predator that reacts to movement.
Wait, so she isn't choosing to hold on to that mop out of stubbornness?
Not at all. Her brain has locked her onto it as a physical grounding object to keep her from completely dissociating from reality.
That makes so much sense. It's not a failure of courage on her part. It's a biological override.
Exactly. Her quiet internal prayer is basically the only cognitive function she has left to maintain even a sliver of control.
But, oh man, here is where it gets incredibly frustrating. Because that biological survival mechanism ends up completely backfiring on her.
Yeah, the police response is infuriating.
It really is. The police arrive, but instead of treating Desireé and Shanae as victims who just survived a near-death experience, Officer Smith separates them.
Right.
And he interrogates Desireé as a suspect.
It turns hostile almost immediately.
He slams his hands on the table and accuses her of being an inside man. And his entire reasoning is that she appeared, quote, too calm on the surviving security footage.
It's unbelievable.
He actually says to her, you were too calm. There's more to the story. He even suggests the robber was getting ready to kiss her or something.
It's just a staggering lack of understanding regarding how trauma actually presents in the human body.
I read that part and immediately thought, it's like surviving a shipwreck, barely making it to the beach, and then the Coast Guard arrests you because you didn't thrash around in the water enough.
That's a perfect analogy.
Like, why does society constantly equate visible panic with innocence and physical calm with guilt?
Because we are conditioned, even in law enforcement training, unfortunately, to recognize sympathetic arousal.
Like the crying and hyperventilating.
Right. The shaking, the tears, that looks like what we think fear should look like on TV.
Yeah.
But dorsal vagal shutdown, The freeze response, it looks like detached calculation to the untrained eye.
Oh, I see. Because she wasn't outwardly hysterical.
Exactly. Because Desiree's response was entirely internal, Officer Smith reads her frozen composure as premeditation.
Wow.
The bitter irony here is that the faith-based composure that kept her steady and kept her alive is weaponized against her by the very authorities supposed to help her.
She doesn't take it lying down, though.
No, she doesn't.
She tells the officer, "I thought you officers are here to help us, but instead you're interrogating us like criminals."
Good for her.
But they still hold her there until 4 in the morning before finally letting her go. And, you would think an experience like this would make someone with social anxiety retreat even further into their shell.
You would honestly expect her to quit the next day and just never leave her house again.
Right. But the exact opposite happens. The robbery fundamentally alters how she interacts with the world.
Like a switch flipped.
Before, she took insults silently. She let people walk all over her to conserve energy. But after staring down a gun, her filter is just gone.
Completely burned away.
When she goes back to work, there's this lazy coworker named Amber who gloats about missing the robbery. Amber says she would have quit on the spot.
Such a terrible thing to say to a survivor.
Right. But Desireé immediately snaps back at her, aggressively defending her choice to stay and work.
Her tolerance for petty cruelty has just vanished at this point.
And it escalates physically, too. There's a customer named Snick, which, great name for a creep, an older, manipulative guy who had been harassing her at the store.
Oh, yeah.
Later, she's at a restaurant, and Snake follows her to her table. He sits down, buys her food, and then reaches under the table and grabs her leg.
Disgusting.
The old Desireé would have frozen or politely tried to excuse herself to avoid a scene.
She would have fled.
Yes, but not this time. She hammer strikes him with her keys, runs to her car, and calls the cops.
We are seeing a complete recalibration of her threat response.
How does that even happen, though? How does a terrifying, life-threatening event cure someone of their everyday social anxiety?
Okay, so it comes down to how the amygdala, which is the fear center of the brain, processes danger.
Okay, the amygdala.
Think of social anxiety like an overly sensitive computer firewall.
I like that.
Before the robbery, Desiree's firewall was flagging every minor social friction, like a rude coworker or a chaotic shift leader, as a massive system-destroying threat.
Oh, so everything felt dangerous, so she avoided everything.
Precisely. She kept her head down to avoid triggering those alarms. But the armed robbery? That was a system override.
A real threat.
Yes, it was a genuine, undeniable level 10 threat to her life. Once you survive something of that magnitude, the amygdala rewires its baseline. It recalibrates.
Wow, so suddenly the firewall knows what a real virus actually looks like?
Exactly. So when a coworker makes a snide comment or a creepy guy crosses a physical boundary, the brain says, hey, we survived a gun to the head. This guy is a level 2 threat at best.
That is fascinating.
The anxiety disappears because the brain no longer confuses social discomfort with physical extinction.
Man, that perfectly explains her dynamic with Austin.
Oh, Austin.
Austin is a deeply racist, highly manipulative coworker who constantly belittles her religion and her background. He plays these nasty psychological power games.
He's awful.
In one instance, he tries to humiliate her commitment to celibacy. He deliberately walks up to her register as a customer and aggressively demands she ring up a box of condoms, clearly just trying to fluster her.
He's probing her defenses. He wants to see her retreat into that old, quiet shell.
But she doesn't retreat at all. She calmly looks at her register, double charges him, and says, "Giving you double for the trouble."
It's brilliant. It's such an active enforcement of her boundaries. Before, her boundary was silence. Now her boundary is a tangible consequence.
And the ultimate test of this new active boundary comes from Austin's girlfriend, Haley.
Right.
Haley falsely believes Desireé is sleeping with Austin, storms into the store, and actually slaps Desireé across the face.
Which is crossing a massive line.
Again, the old Desireé would have removed herself from the situation just like she did with her sister's boyfriend earlier in the story.
She would have packed her bags.
Right. The new Desireé, she uses a physical leg sweep and pins Haley to the floor right there in the merchandise aisles.
It's a total transformation. We've watched her definition of holding it together evolve so much.
It really has.
Initially, it meant passive endurance, right? Gripping a mop and praying for the storm to pass.
Yeah.
Now, it means active self-defense. She has realized that true sovereignty isn't just about refusing a handout from your family.
Right.
It requires stepping into the friction and having the backbone to enforce how others are allowed to treat you.
But what I find so compelling is that she doesn't lose her core values in this process.
That's a great point. She doesn't.
She doesn't become hard or cynical. She actually leans deeper into her faith, but she uses it differently now.
She's not hiding behind it anymore.
Exactly. She fasts, she prays, but instead of using religion as a shield to hide behind, she uses it as an engine to propel her forward.
Yes.
And this all culminates at the 22nd choir anniversary at her church.
This is a crucial turning point for her public vulnerability.
It really is. Despite her lingering baseline of anxiety, because it's not totally gone, she steps up to the microphone in front of the entire congregation.
Takes a lot of courage.
And she doesn't just sing a traditional hymn to blend in. She sings a solo that she wrote herself, appropriately titled Holding It Together. She pushes through the quaver in her voice, closes her eyes, and just delivers this massive, powerful performance.
It is the ultimate synthesis of her journey.
Yeah.
She takes the quiet internal faith that she used to, whisper into a mop handle,
Yeah.
and she projects it outward. She is claiming space audibly and unapologetically.
And the real-world results of this internal shift are almost immediate. Soon after the choir performance, she sits down with her cousin Terrain.
Right, terrain.
He looks at her resume on her phone and gives her some hard truths about her employment gap and her kind of passive approach to job hunting.
Which she probably wouldn't have been able to hear before.
Exactly. Because she has found her voice and dropped those defensive filters, she actually listens to him instead of withdrawing.
She takes the feedback.
Yeah. She leaves the toxic environment of the mini market, and she finally lands a career-level job as a visual manager at Rubien's finest boutique.
The sequence of events here is the most important takeaway, I think. Well, it's very easy to assume that getting a good job is what gives someone confidence. Like, oh, once I get the manager title, then I'll be independent.
Right, like the job makes the person.
But Desiree's professional success didn't bring her independence. It was the other way around.
Oh, the internal shift had to happen first.
Yes, it was her willingness to claim her voice in her personal life, standing up to Amber, defending herself against Snake and Haley, singing her truth at church, that fundamentally changed her posture in the world.
She had to act like a manager of her own life first.
Exactly. She had to become the person capable of holding that management job before the job would ever manifest for her. Personal sovereignty has to precede professional success.
It really makes you wonder what would have happened if she had just taken that easy waitress job at her dad's restaurant on day one.
Her quiet, sheltered life would have remained totally intact.
But she never would have been tested. Her firewall never would have been recalibrated by the absolute chaos of Springwater's mini market.
We often view traumatic events as interruptions to our life's journey, like something that derails us.
Yeah, roadblock.
But in Desiree's case, the trauma wasn't an interruption at all. The system shock was the catalyst required to unlock her actual potential.
Let's zoom out and just look at this incredible progression. We trace Desiree from a passive, highly anxious young woman who uses withdrawal and silence just to survive.
Right.
We watch her freeze in terror, literally clutching a mop while a man shoots up her workplace.
Such a powerful image.
And we watch how surviving that crucible burns away the filters of her social anxiety, transforming her into an empowered woman who leg sweeps attackers, writes her own solos, and manages a boutique.
It's an amazing arc.
She starts letting the world happen to her and starts enforcing how the world is allowed to interact with her.
Which I think brings the lens directly onto you, the listener.
Yeah.
When you analyze your own life, especially in your highest moments of stress or anxiety, what is your mop?
Ooh, I love that. What is your mop?
What is that familiar, seemingly safe routine or physical habit you cling to when the environment feels completely out of your control?
And more importantly, is clinging to that mop keeping you immobilized?
Exactly. Is it preventing you from engaging with the friction required to find your true voice?
That is exactly the question we need to leave you with today because, we spend our entire lives trying to design environments that are perfectly safe.
Avoiding chaos at all costs.
Right. We build these intricate firewalls of routine just to keep the messiness out. But if an overwhelming system shock is what actually forces the brain to recalibrate its fear,
If extreme friction is what ultimately reveals our true character,
then perhaps the chaos we try so desperately to avoid is exactly what we need. Maybe that shattering glass is the only way to discover who we really are.